At Humoriso, we're not just another HR consultancy. We're a team of dedicated experts wanting to bring your business forward. Our Humoriso Technology Solutions, HTS, are a different kind of HR tech. Give real-time insights without overwhelming managers with too much data. So whether you're a growing startup, an established company, our human resources outsource support, payroll management are all there to help drive your business forward. So check us out and see what Humoriso could do for you today.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Top of the morning to you.
Top of the morning to you.
Do people? It's like an Irish hand signal there. I love that. Well, guys, it's good to be back with you, Danielle. Always
welcome
a pleasure.
back.
Yeah, it's good to see
Yeah,
you. And then Mike, it's good to see you in the house.
Yeah, I've been here for a few weeks, but you've been avoiding me, so I'm glad we can be in one room together here.
Yeah, last
Shots
week
fired.
the internet went down last week.
Yeah.
AKA I still did run a show and Mike was in it. I was like, that's it. But a lot has changed. I mean, I feel like so much has changed. Like you're like an author now, so that's pretty sweet.
I am. I have a book. It's here. Oh, you have it too. These are collector's editions with the yellow font. I always like to get that out.
The FOMO is real.
Yeah.
For anyone who doesn't have the collector's item, it is super real for me right now.
Well, you are being judged. Yes, you are being judged. Well, congrats on the butt, man. That is huge news. And for anyone who's out there that's looking for a job, I mean, for real, we talk about this all the time. There's just so much trash out there. Like I had to stop consuming a lot of the content that's out there because it just infuriates me. But Mike, man, you put together the playbook. It's real talk. There's no fluff. There's like tables in this thing. So where can people go pick it up?
You really love the tables in this thing, and there are tables. That's how you know this is real talk and no fluff. It's like you cannot fluff a table.
No, tables make it legit. Well, where can people get a copy of the book?
They can get the copy of the book on Amazon. You can search me or Yes, You're Being Judged. I will just say this: if you search the title of this book, after this book went #1 on a couple of charts, a whole bunch of like AI slop knockoff books showed up as well. So if you search it, there's a bunch of books with like, and it says like lessons learned from Yes, You're Being Judged. And it just is like, and like the description is like the lessons learned from Mike Petito's book. It's essentially like an AI Cliffs Notes of like how to do it.
Crazy, man.
People keep sending them to me like, have you seen these? I'm like, yes, of course I've seen these. I refresh my book page every 4 seconds. So I have noticed. And there's nothing you can really do. It's, you know, it's just like, it's a Cliffs Notes, lessons learned from the book, but they make the cover look the same. So like, don't buy those ones.
Yeah. That's why you got to
buy it from the source.
The editions. You got to do edition 1 and then just keep updating. That's the old trick in college. It was like you couldn't buy the first edition. It's got to be the 11th edition that costs more and says the same thing. Anyway, guys, welcome to the HR Morning Show. For anyone who's out there, I haven't been here for a while, so I'd love to hear who is out there. Get in the chat, say hi, tell us who you are, what you do.
Tell us what's in your cup this morning.
What is in your cup, Mike? You got a cup?
I got a cup. I don't know if you can read it. It says low key thriving.
You're just full of surprises.
I would agree with that.
My son picked this up for my wife. He wanted to get her something for Mother's Day, and we just like went to Target and he just walked up and down every aisle and then like ran to this mug. And I was like, perfect, great choice. And
That's
now I
so
drink
cute.
out of it every day.
It's a cool mug. It's like it's like glossy. Yeah, it's like beautiful.
Let's see.
Like that.
Steven said Danielle accent count so far 3. So Steven is on your accents. Yeah, let's bring out.
Guys, I'm on like a different level today. I'm tuning in from a different apartment. I'm still in New York City, but just in a different place. I can't tell you where. And it's just, I have a big project launching today. I announced my new series that I'm kicking off called Underrated Economy, exploring the underrated jobs that exist in the world that most people don't talk about, but actually pay the bills. So the first episode is going to be released in a couple of weeks, but announced that today. That's kind of big.
That
Here's
is
one that
exciting. I
gets
feel like you told me
underrated.
about that a few months ago, and I thought it sounded like such a great idea, so it's
Thank
awesome
you.
that you're
Yeah, we
going
did a
out there.
thing.
Well done.
Thank you.
Content creator is underrated. Just gonna say it. Anyway,
I don't think so. I think I saw a chart.
yeah,
It was like 40% of Gen Alpha wants to be a YouTube creator, and that's just YouTube.
perfect,
Yeah,
So
that's the number one career for kids right now, that they wanna be a YouTube creator.
things are looking up for
perfect.
this next generation for sure.
That's good. Well, let's get them on your content. But guys, as always, we're part of the Purple Acorn. We are the HR Morning Show. But if you go to purpleacornnetwork.com, you can see a whole plethora of great content. Everything from like HR content, recruitment content, just work life in general. I think we got remote work podcasts. So there's a ton of great content. And if you go to purpleacornnetwork.com, you can see a lot of those podcasts. My podcast is on there as well. Big plug for
Oh,
that. Also, you can follow us on LinkedIn, and we're trying to get to 2,000 followers on LinkedIn. So please go hit us up with a follow. What I will say, even though the algorithms are all screwed up, if you do follow, there's more chance of you seeing a lot of the content we're putting out, and we put out a lot of content. So shout out to Purple Acorn Network, and then we're also on YouTube, and we are a podcast. So definitely go follow us. And again, guys, it's good to be back with all of you. And please pick up Mike's book as well. That's my big plug for the day. Pick up Mike's book. Mike, what do you have for us?
Uh, Also check out Danielle's new series she's launching today.
And Danielle, what do you have for us?
Go listen to Joel Loudly AI bot
I tried
on
to
his
erase my
podcast
name on that. I don't know why it's still showing up like that. That's ridiculous.
because you can't once labeled an AI bot,
Mhm.
always labeled an AI
Yeah.
bot.
There's no putting that
Can't get
cord
away
back
from
in.
it.
Joel Lalji AI bot. I love it. Well, good to be with you. We got a great show today. So excited to get things kicked off. And I think that kind of brings us to our next segment. We got some big news on today's show. Look at it, it's just me on stage. This is how I like it. Just jokes aside, we have a brand new sponsor, and we've worked with some amazing companies on this show. It's always an honor to know that there's companies out there that are willing to support us and support our content. So I want to give a huge shout out to Kika, which is an all-in-one HRIS platform. I mean, everything from HR to payroll, performance management. Right now, they're working with over 10,000 clients, and they have millions and millions of users. So obviously, if you're looking to simplify what you're using, if you've got complications, you need to check out. Kika now. And everything from onboarding, payroll, performance, really anything you can think about. And really, what separates them from some of the other platforms that are not as user friendly. They've got a real focus on making it easy for employees. So yes, you're not going to have to answer questions of like, how do I do this? How do I do that? They made it really, really simple for everybody to understand. And then they also have a track record with just global presence, right? So we all know there's differences in how different countries and cultures handle things. So Kika has got you covered. They have clients all around the world. So definitely go check them out. And I'm sure you will hear more about Kika in the next upcoming months. We're delighted to be working with them. So shout out to Kika. And we probably will put someone in the backstage, one of my minions, please put a link so we can get people demos as well. And I'm just joking, you guys are not minions, but we're really excited. Their mission is to keep things simple. I like simple. I don't like complicated. So I really resonate with that mission. So thank you, Kika. It's great to have you guys on board with us.
We are back with headlines. This is an exciting one this week. This is a big one. Everyone's talking about it. OpenAI this week has announced that they are launching a hiring platform that will take on LinkedIn. They're expecting it mid next year. Interesting for a few reasons, right? We haven't learned a ton about it, but they said something that's going to help match companies with the right jobs and with the right candidates. another tool doing it. Interesting also because OpenAI, one of their biggest backers is Microsoft, who owns LinkedIn. Competition there is going to be something to kind of watch with it. But this is something new they're launching. They've made it clear they're getting into a lot of new areas over the next year or two as they try and expand and figure out what's next. They're also putting out a AI fluency certifications by the end of this year for people to kind of go through. So OpenAI is expanding. They're coming to take everything over. What do we think?
I mean, the fact that it's like they call it hiring platform to take on LinkedIn, it's like, do you mean recruiting platform? Because hiring and recruiting are like you could do like onboarding in there. Or what are you doing? It's like, and then the other thing I think about is what makes LinkedIn powerful is the in-mails. Like any of the recruitment agency owners that I talk to that are spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on a platform, they're literally doing it because emails bounce, emails get caught up in spam filters. It's getting harder to email people. And whether or not we like it, the in-mails still work. And so, um, this whole matching companies and, what are they going to use resumes to match companies to job descriptions? I'm like, there's a million companies that have tried this over the last decade. So, um, I don't know. I just feel like the recruiting and HR is always the first target for like any type of disruption. But you talk to any job seeker today, we've got a lot of technology already. It doesn't seem like things have gotten easier. We talk to him, Mike, all the time, and we also talk to recruiters all the time. It doesn't seem like tech has really made recruiting easier. That's kind of my take on that.
Yeah, I'm
I
with
would
you.
agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, we know this in this space, and I talk about this in my "Is This Still a Good Time" newsletter all the time, which is like for recruiters, and it's the idea that like we are always the first industry that these tools are coming for, that they're going to replace, that they're going to fix, because everyone thinks they can kind of change hiring and fix hiring. The idea of kind of replacing LinkedIn is silly to me too, right? Because LinkedIn is so much more than just job matching. And I think that's anyone who spends time on LinkedIn tells people that all the time. If you're only using LinkedIn
Yeah.
to find a job or to kind of look what to do, you're using it wrong. And that's just not kind of how it goes. So we don't know enough. Like, I mean, who knows what this platform is going to be? If it's just another tool like you said, 1,000 that are out there that are really good at, you give us your job description, we'll find you 10 candidates to message. Like, okay, then it's another one out there and we'll see how good it is.
Yeah.
But the story to me at this point doesn't stand out as anything like wild. It's just another company doing what I feel like 100 companies are trying to do. Only this time it's OpenAI, so way more money and way more kind of name and clout to it.
Yeah. I would also say, building off that point, I know people that go to LinkedIn for their news. I know people who, and there's a specific algorithm full of people that they've either worked with or they follow who are posting news. And that algorithm is very specific to that person. And if you're in a different industry, you're not going to see news from other industries, except for if people follow or like or engage with that post. So what I'm saying is, you have a very specific algorithm, but I feel as though AI and the OpenAI specifically has more of an advantage to go after like news specifically, or like catering to your everyday news, more than it does like catering to what LinkedIn does for people, which is staying updated on what people you care about are doing with their careers, where people work, their birthdays. Obviously, that's our favorite features, birthdays on LinkedIn. Staying up to date, with
And
like
games.
content. Yeah, games, of course. Games are the most important. I use them all the time. So I feel like to your point, I think LinkedIn is so much more than just about finding a job. It's also about curating your profile, although a lot of people don't use it right in that regard. So I don't know. I'd be curious to see what the inside of the boardroom of LinkedIn sounds like right now, and what maybe it pushes them to do, and maybe that includes speeding up the time to, the time to innovate. LinkedIn is notoriously bad for innovation. Not from a, you know, overall standpoint, but timing wise, I mean, it took them over 2 years to integrate AI into the jobs feature of LinkedIn. So I feel like it'll just kind of pressure them to speed up on that front, which I think will benefit everyone. But like you guys were saying, it's the job stuff. It's not really helping much. AI is not helping to weed out the noise.
I would say, one of the things I noticed with LinkedIn as well is the big advantage they do have, and because with all that being said, is that no one's happy with LinkedIn. And like I talk to, hundreds of hiring leaders who own the budget and where they spend the budget. And there's very few people I talk to who are like, yeah, I love the cost of LinkedIn Recruiter. I love but it's seen as like a necessary evil right now. So that is an advantage that they do have. But the reason is I wouldn't even necessarily describe LinkedIn as a hiring platform. It's a social network, a business social network. It's obviously been utilized in that way. But they have LinkedIn, they got the LinkedIn Recruiter, LinkedIn Sales Navigator. They've got an ad service. They've obviously, like you said, Danielle, got content and news. But if it's like, that's why it's powerful. It's a social network. So if I reach out to Mike and Mike knows me and I've got an opportunity, he's more likely to take it because I've built that social capital with him as well. Whereas like just a hiring platform for itself, I mean, there's lots of those out there as well. So I don't know. Be interested. I wish they would give us more information on it, to be honest.
Well, that's the thing, is I think it's just sort of a news story. I read this as way more as like a business competition for LinkedIn. I think we're talking about it sort of from like an individual user side. That I don't think OpenAI is coming to replace LinkedIn as like a social media. I think it's more the competition of LinkedIn is probably going to come from the side of like, do you need LinkedIn Recruiter? Do you need to pay for these in-mails? Do you need to pay to post your jobs there? If you can just give OpenAI your job and it can find you the 20 profiles of the people that you want. I think that's probably the competition, and we'll have to see how that goes. I mean, essentially it's another AI sourcing tool, which
exactly, right? It's like, what's the biggest complaint with that? Well, my email domain's going to get screwed, or it's like, it's like email it's still hard, and it's the crux of it for me too is recruiting has gotten harder. Everything has gotten harder in when it comes to any type of outreach, because there's so much outreach. Like everybody's inboxes are exploding. Everyone's notifications are exploding. So to me, the big skill is, can you capture attention in a way to where you can get time with someone to pitch them on a job? And I think, I don't know if just another AI tool to make it easier to message people or whatever their strategy is the answer. So it'd be interesting.
I mean,
we'll
one of the things that
go ahead.
I was just going to say, one of the things that LinkedIn has not done well is, and I'm really bashing LinkedIn today. I don't know if it's gotten into me.
You're a LinkedIn top voice. How dare you?
I have to be, you have to be critical.
Yes. Switch that blue badge to us over here who are talking nice about LinkedIn.
I love LinkedIn.
They have started to take them away from people. But what I was going to say is, the DMs are so bad. Like you have marketers and salespeople getting into your DMs, and there's no way to like filter. There's like two boxes to filter from. It's insane. Given how many messages people get on average, I would actually be curious what that number is. But what I would say is LinkedIn, why it is so special is that it was the first platform to democratize access to very important people. Not to say that Instagram can't do that, but on the level at which it does it, you like anyone could message the CEO of BlackRock tomorrow, right? Like it just democratized that. And I don't think, given that so many people have chosen their LLM of choice, right? Some people use Claude, some people use Grok, some people use ChatGPT. I don't think that ChatGPT is leveraged to do the same kind of thing, and provide the sort of the individual personalized access experience, overall experience that would be necessary to really replace LinkedIn. So I don't think it's a matter of, will OpenAI replace LinkedIn? It's more a matter of what will we use for certain things. And I think we'll have to wait for the dust to settle and really see what they're building. I think they also mentioned that they're building a social media app, so that'll be interesting too. I mean, there's
we need more. We need more social media.
I've actually been feeling really deprived of the amount of social media apps we
I
have.
really want to start over on another platform and do this all over again. I am excited at that idea.
And then we'll create a course for it too.
Yeah, 100%. I really want to train another algorithm on what I like. It's just horse content. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
My wife and kids think I don't spend enough time on social media, so they would love one more that just hooks me in. Okay, so we have to see how this goes. We're going to see what comes of it. We don't know enough, but more AI sourcing is on the way. These are headlines. We're gonna track this story until mid next year when it comes out. But it's time for us to get to our friend Lynn.
We should do a Joel's poll on this one, I think.
I'll do one. Lynn, hello.
Joel, hi. How are you?
I'm doing just great. How are you doing?
Good. I think I'm good. I'm just living on caffeine and a secret hope that the fall will end at some point. We're almost there. Right?
It will. I assure you it will. But we are, we're in fall. Conference season is upon us. It feels like just yesterday that conference season was upon us, and now it is again. So for so many people, it can be overwhelming. It's like, what do I do? Like I talked to someone recently who's going to a conference upcoming, and it was one that she hadn't been to before. And I could already tell there was anxiety, like, who do I meet with? How am I going to plan my day? But you know how to make the most out of conferences. So I'm excited to hear from you.
I will say
your perspective.
I will say I have a little bit of a conference thing going on. It just happens to be my gig. I think this is an important season coming in. I was just listening to your guys' conversation about OpenAI and LinkedIn. We need to pull that as a whole nother conversation.
I know.
Because I have so many thoughts on that, but we're not going to do that today because I'm still adjusting. I'm still forming.
Teaser for next week.
Yeah, I'm teasing it up saying I don't think we're getting the point. But I'll work on that one. So, but with that going on, right, a variety of things happening in the larger ecosystem. I've been working on a series of reports with Kyle Laganas, who's I'm giving a little teaser out here. We've been working on some deeper analysis and research around AI maturity and what's happening in this space. And I just actually saw some data coming out of it earlier this week, and I am fascinated and a little worried for all of us. There's a lot happening. There is already starting to become a divide in organizations between those organizations who are starting to kind of move forward and those who are in this kind of stalled space. And as we enter conference season, I think this is the year people need to walk in really purposefully thinking about that expo hall as an incubator of ideas for themselves. And then they need to figure out how to translate that into action and movement. So a couple of key hits I want to give everybody as they're going into it. First off, don't walk in like a deer in headlights. Have a plan going into it. It's not that I know it's extra time for all of us and we feel like, we're going to have this extra thing that we have to do and add onto our plate. But you need to have a sense of what is it you're looking for? What type of solutions do you really need to understand? What problems are you trying to solve? Start with your problem space. What problem you're trying to solve? Write down your top 3 problems. And then I'm going to suggest to everybody that you go to whichever conference you're going to, go look at their Expo Exhibitors tab.
Yeah.
And guess what? You can use your wonderful AI tools to help you with this as well. You can green grab all those, stick them into a lovely tool, articulate what your problem is in that tool, and get a recommendation for the top ones you should be looking at. It may hint for you places you hadn't thought to look before. Give you some guidance on where you can start addressing them. And then I think you need to be prepared to do 2 things walking into the conference. Know what questions you want to ask of those different vendors and what you want to get out of it. You need to own that demo, that experience. They're walking in there. I do this all day. I'm preparing my own team to go do this. Trust me, everybody on my team, they're fabulous. You're going to have a great conversation if you go and talk to them. But they've also been very prepped with, this is the conversation I want you to be driving. Here is the demo flow. These are the things that you want to be having. That may or may not be what you as a user or potential user need to know about, or the questions that you have. So if you want to own that conversation, You have to be prepared with what are your problems, what are the questions you want to ask, and start getting some deeper answers in that. Own that dialogue. And the second thing you've got to do there is you need to also walk in with a very open mind. Walk around and have those problem statements in your head, and ask questions of people you may not have intentionally meant to meet to start out with, because they may spark an idea for you to solve a problem in a way you hadn't even thought of before, with a tool that may not even be in your track. I'll give you a great example. I'm rambling, but I get excited about this.
No, it's great. This is high value. So
good.
Good.
I'll give you that. But years ago, as a practitioner, I was working at Intel at the time. It was one of my first HR tech conferences. This has always been a habit of mine. I have a day where I do nothing but walk the floor and talk. I don't even have a preset of what I want to know. I just want to understand what people are doing. There's one guy, he didn't have a big booth. He had basically a table. Right? Those are the days. So it's like almost like a rep tape, right? And he had a VR headset in front of him. Now, this is about 10 years ago or so. And I said, well, tell me what it is that you do with this thing. And he was explaining to me how he had built some software using virtual reality to help people be able to train front desk clerks or people who were in kind of different roles like that. And they could use this VR tool to be able to open drawers and to, kind of do tasks. And he could then help train with that. And I was like, okay, this is really interesting. And I watched it and I played with the tech for a little bit. And the first thing that came to my mind was, this is really cool, but this isn't how I would use it. I, 10 years ago, could look at that and go, this could be intriguing to create job-based assessments that could be done in virtual reality. How could we leverage that as a tool? Right? This guy that was not the use case he was building. That was not what he was constructing for. And in fact, I can tell you in my conversation with him, he probably wasn't going to go there because just I thought about it. But it sparked an incubator of an idea for me that over the years, we were able to test and use in different areas because it gave us an idea or a thought for something new. You're going to see a lot of that if you go and just ask the questions, keep your problems in mind, and know that there are lots of ways to get at something and to solve a problem. Don't rely on the people who are standing there at those booths to be able to tell you how their use case solves your problem. Because 9 chances out of 10, they don't deeply understand your use case. They don't understand the environment that you're living in, the space that you're in, and the options that you may have in front of you. But what they can tell you is what they're capable of providing and what they do. It's up to you to translate that to how it works for your use case.
How you mentioned the preparation aspect. If you were to coach somebody, particularly if they're not necessarily used to, the conference energy and even just going into those vendor spaces, it can be pretty overwhelming when you get in because it's just so much. When you're preparing, 2 questions. Number 1, is there anyone else you should be preparing with? And like, how much time do you really give to like serious preparation? So you mentioned like understanding problems, right? Like, how is this something you're doing like the night before, a couple weeks? Like, you're bringing your team in. Like, how would you approach that?
Yeah, you should be. Listen, HR Tech is coming up next week. If you haven't started preparing, you're going to miss some opportunities. So you need to get on it now. Right? Don't let this be the night before sort of experience for you. But don't overcomplicate your planning as well. Right? You need to kind of be open to the moments that are going to kind of occur for you while you're going around. The preparation should be fairly simple. Like I said, take a moment. Whether it's, use whatever tactic works for you. If you're a journaler, great. If you want to go back and look at old vision presentations you've been working on with your teams, if it's in having a couple of one-on-one conversations with your IT department or with your HRIT person or with your product ops person or with recruiters in your space, and just try and craft for yourself 2 to 3 spaces that are problems that if you could solve as a business would advance you further. Just start there. If you do nothing but that will get you 9 steps further than most people who are walking on to a conference floor into a series of sessions, because you know what you're trying to get answers for. Your mind is starting to think about those in the back subconsciously. So as you're going in sessions, you're going to find that it kind of helps you figure out what to listen to. Your ears are going to perk up when you hear things that help you and support in those spaces. When you're walking the floor, it'll help you kind of see things in a new light based on how it can solve problems for you. That's my number 1 thing. And the second thing I tell everybody is Don't overplan and don't overschedule yourself. So be prepared with what you want to know, but give yourself some flexibility to navigate the space around you in a way that makes sense for you. Some people go in and they have like an agenda built hour by hour, right? Like I'm going to go to this session, and then they get mad at themselves when they have to run from. I mean, if there's one big tip I can get everybody: wear your tennis shoes.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Don't give up I still am amazed walking down that hall when I see, people walking down in heels. I'm like, what are you thinking?
Yeah.
Right?
You got to have the comfortable shoes for sure.
Bring your comfy shoes. Make sure that you don't over schedule yourself. Allow yourself the opportunity to spend time having random conversations in coffee lines and sitting in the lounge areas where you're just sitting and kind of dialoguing. Don't get into your own little shell. Purposely spend some time when you're sitting down with that little lunch box that you get at the expo hall, and you're sitting around that round table, and your temptation is to pull up your cell phone to start answering a couple of emails.
Yeah.
Give yourself a moment to that, but then put it down and look at the people at the table and introduce yourself.
Be present.
Say hi. Be present. Yeah. Meet people. Ask questions. Start conversations, and see where that takes you.
So, talking about questions, what are some of your go-to questions for vendors, right? Because you mentioned, I think we all know vendors are trained, right, to bring through a demo. A lot of times they have an understanding of what they think the problems are that they're solving, but they're not necessarily a key to like what problems are out there or your problems are facing. So what are some of your go-to questions for vendors to really make the most out of those conversations?
So I always like to start my conversation with, tell me what it is that your product does and how it can solve X problem. So I walk in and I immediately tell them what my problem is I want them to solve. They're going to want to start the conversation with, tell me who you are, tell me what your company size is.
What's your budget?
What's your budget, right? They're going to go straight into all those things. You're going to step back and you're going to go, hi, this is really interesting. I want to understand it better. This is the biggest problem I'm trying to solve. Could you solve that problem, and how would you? And then step for a minute. And if they have a quick, fast answer, great. That's probably pre-programmed and trained a little bit. If they pause for a second and then go to the next level and start asking you some more details, that helps. Then you know they're kind of actually trying to resolve the problem. And then let them kind of steer you down that path a little bit. The second question he's asking, in the world of AI, guys, I think the number 2 question you need to ask is it already live? Are customers using it? And what sort of impact are they seeing from it?
I love that.
Right?
The impact is so huge, right? Like what are the outcomes, right?
What are the outcomes? What are they showing? And then the third biggest question that you need to ask is around kind of how does your tech, particularly in the AI space, play with other tech? Is it open API? Are you already working on the idea of agent to agent? Are you what is your data privacy and protection plan, right? So go into those levels, have like 3 or 4 key questions. Ask your HR IT person. Say, hey, I'm going to this conference. If I was going to ask a vendor, if somebody I'm interested in, 3 things that would be knockout questions that you would want to know before I even bring them to you, what would you want to know? And ask those questions and go into that space. So what can you do to solve X problem? What is live and what's actually in people's hands today, and what impact is it showing? And here are my couple knockout questions that I need to understand in order to understand if your tech is going to work inside my ecosystem.
I love that.
Start there. If you answer those 3 questions, take your notes. Now, my next little trick I'm going to tell you is also, if it's something, so you're going to know right away, this is interesting or not interesting. If it's even halfway interesting, take 2 seconds and leave yourself a voice memo before you go to the next booth. And then at the end of the night or at some regularly scheduled time for yourself, transcribe those to give yourself a moment to reflect on what you saw and go back a second time if you have a second question the next day. But don't assume you're going to remember anything anybody said to you after you've gone to 3 booths. Not going to happen.
I think it's just a huge part of just even at least what I've experienced with like conference interactions. I think that tip, if you make a great connection with someone, whatever moments are really standing out. Maybe it's a point from a one of the sessions.
Right.
I think that type of exercise is so helpful because what I've noticed is you go in, it's a blur, and that blur can be 18 hours, it can be 22 hours, you can
Mhm.
just fly through. And if you haven't taken that time, I think while you're there to actually do an exercise like that, where you're looking at
Right.
who have I met, what are the tools that I met? I think it just flies by, and then I think you end up at the end of it like, okay, that was just a blur. I guess I'll come next year, and I think that's how it happens for a lot of people, which is,
Mhm.
it's easy to happen because there's so much to do. There's so many things to do.
So many things to do, so many conversations to have. So, I'll tell you, people see me with it all the time. I have my phone open, and
Yeah,
it's not because I'm reading my emails and etc. I
yeah,
frequently am, but not always. I have my note tab open, and I'll just keep a running open
so
random
cool.
thoughts note thing that I keep. By the way, tech makes it so much easier now. I can now take that, you can just download that into something,
Yeah,
and it can summarize it for you. Can you imagine? Because
so
the
cool.
old days, I literally used to go back to my hotel room and go, "What did what was that?"
Pen and paper.
Right? I don't have any idea what I wrote there, what that was about. What was I trying to get across with that piece? So you can collect it, you can get it. Give yourself a goal. Tell yourself, give yourself an accountability partner back home that says, whether it's your team or the group you work with, and say, okay, every morning I'm going to send you a quick synopsis of the 3 coolest things I learned or I think are interesting for us to pay attention to as a team. It pushes you to summarize and to help your brain adjust to stuff so you can clear it enough to go on to the next day. So there you go. I can go
Well,
on about this forever, Joel.
no, I love it. We need to have a one-on-one session because I feel like I'm not getting enough out of the events that I go to. So maybe we'll set that up. But why don't we end here? I know we're kind of wrapping up with time. Where are people going to be able to find you in the next kind of, let's say, the next couple months? What are some of the
Yeah.
events you're going to? And then
Yeah.
just in general, where can people connect with you?
Okay. So obviously you can connect with me guys on LinkedIn.
And
OpenAI is not
TikTok. And
there, and
TikTok.
TikTok. I'm on TikTok.
You're
If you want to
killing
do some
it.
AI stuff, I'm over there. You can find me on the LinkedIn stuff, just doing some random stuff in that space. For the next season, listen, starting on Monday morning, I'm going to be in Vegas. I will be at HR Tech. Boots on the ground. You're not going to miss us, Smart Recruiters people. I promise you. Hint, hint. If you're looking for something to do, if you're going to be at HR Tech, check out my profile. We've got a really cool party happening on Tuesday.
You always do.
It's the best party, and this one blows it out of the water, Joel. I'm just saying.
Oh, now I'm
This
getting
blows it out of the
FOMO.
water.
Now I'm feeling FOMO, but it's
It's
okay.
really good. So it'll be HR Tech. I'll be at RecFest with the team.
Amazing.
Not just me, but my team will be at all 3 of the Gartner HR symposiums. So London comes first, and I think it's Orlando, and then Sydney. We'll be at Unleash World in
Amazing.
Paris.
Amazing.
And there is something in between there. There is an event happening in Amsterdam that we're sending a couple of people to. So if anybody's listening in Europe, there is a really interesting AI event happening at the Eye Museum, which interestingly enough is where we did Hiring Success last year. A very interesting venue. So there you go.
That. I love it. Well, definitely, if you're at any of those events, reach out to Alin, see what Smart Recruiters is up to, see what Alin is up to as well. And guys, I would also definitely encourage you to follow Alin on Instagram and TikTok as well, because the content around AI is super helpful. And you're really, really consistent with that as well, which I think is awesome. So thank you. I can't wait to see you at RecFest. It's going to be awesome.
There. We're going to have a blast. We're going to have a great time. We're going to talk about, we're going to be hanging out at the Purple Acorn.
That's right.
Space.
We're going to have our space. It's going to be a good time. So great, Alin. Well, stay safe. Yeah, have great travels. Hope those events go well, and we'll talk soon.
Awesome.
Okay, I am excited. Hi, Joanna. How are you?
Mike, how you doing?
I'm good. I like that energy that just started coming out here. I love talking to people like a recruiter, because I am, and I always like to just start with is this still a good time? Because we asked everyone, except you came out this is a good time, and I'm even going to wait for you to ask. I know
I'm ready. So I'm calling in from England, London, England. So thank you firstly for having a Brit on the show. I think that we're underrepresented possibly. So it's the afternoon. It's not the morning show for me, and I've got my
Yes,
cup
this is
of
not the
tea.
morning show, I realized. You might be
I'm
happy to know
ready.
that Joel, who you just saw talking, is originally from England. So every week
Mm.
there's a Brit on the show. He's just
Big
coming
up,
for
Joel.
the
He doesn't
meetings.
sound it, but
No, he's every now and then he's talking from off stage now, but
lips
every now and
out.
then you'll hear him. So Joanna, you are co-founder of a company, PitchNinjas, which I think
Yeah.
is amazing. But I'm going to let you talk about it instead of me,
Thank
because
you.
then I can tell you what I think is cool. But for people tuning in, right, who don't know PitchNinjas or you,
Yeah.
like, tell us a little bit about it.
Sure. So our company was really created out of lockdown, actually. So I came together with my business partner, Lucera Tegel, who worked in the learning and development space at Google for like 15 years. And Google was really a front runner in what was happening in learning and development. And my background was like, I'm a leadership coach, specializing in communication, working with government ministers, people at the C-suite, and biggest companies in the world. And she was like, we've got to democratize communication coaching. And that's what we've done. So here we are 4 years later. We're working for, we're coaching thousands of people at the biggest companies in the world, from Google to Ericsson to Netflix to PwC. And genuinely, I mean, I'm so proud of what we're doing. But basically, we allow people to have one-on-one communication coaching. So if you think about Coach Hub or any of those kind of organizations, we are specialists in communication coaching, and that's what we do. And we're just on a mission because actually both Lucera and I have our own stories of how we really struggled, when we were first in our careers with our communication, and it really held us back. And we meet people all the time who aren't getting promotions, who aren't, HR, this is what, this podcast is all about, but there'll be amazing candidates who'll come to the door and they'll fall apart in an interview. I mean, that's just one example of great people who just fall down because of their communication skills. Now, you podcasters are all brilliant at it. Like, you don't need us. But the majority of us mere humans, mortals, really do need to work on it. And it's such... Anyway, so it's a wonderful mission that we're on. It's affordable to offer at scale. And yeah, I'm very happy with what we're doing, where we've come.
You'd be amazed at how I turn into a terrible communicator as soon as you see me in real life. Like, take this screen out from in between us, and I'm going to be face down on the phone, like Alim was just talking about the last interview, not asking anyone any questions. But no,
you shine in front of the camera.
I
have a little story about that. Can I share my story about shining in front of the camera?
Of course you can.
So it actually speaks to kind of communication skills. So many, many years ago, I was a television news reporter, and I would be on screen every single day, right? And actually, unlike you, when it was live, I kind of fell apart a little bit because I used to get so horribly nervous. If it was pre-recorded and I was doing a pre-recorded piece, it would be a totally different story. So there was something in that. And I remember I showed up one day to the biggest news story in the UK. It was a horrible case. I was behind the curve because another journalist had been from my company had been on the story for 10 days. And at that 10-day point, everyone was like, news is going to move on. Nothing's going to happen. I turn up as a kind of junior reporter, and I'm really not au fait with what's happening. And suddenly the biggest bomb drops in the story, like a huge breakthrough. They find the killer, kind of thing. And I'm just really woefully prepared. And I just have this moment on screen where I'm just like, oh no, I can't find the words. Things go wrong. I have an out-of-body experience. And then I do my pre-recorded report later that afternoon, and it gets forward for an award. And so it makes me realize that people like you, who will be brilliant at this, the broadcasting, you might fall apart in a really difficult conversation, or you might be brilliant. There are people who are brilliant at speaking on stage in front of 1,000 people, but can't have a really hard, sensitive conversation. So that's all the work we do, and we love it. And it changes things. It turns things around for people.
No, and I think it's amazing. Like you said, there's the job search, but it's not even just for that. I mean, I talk a lot when I make a lot of content about just careers and job searching and things like that. And one of the things I talk about the most is one of the biggest problems in the corporate world nobody talks about is nobody's trained to have tough conversations or lead or dues. And I've been in that spot. I mean, I have been director of HR at companies before where no one really ever trained me. I just sort of got into the spots, and then you're having very tough conversations on day one with people, and kind of a lot of gut instinct. So like, it's interesting because you meet with a lot of executives. Like, how surprised would people be, I think, to hear like when you start meeting with executives of these major companies, like how little work and training they've actually had to this point with these things.
Yeah, I mean, normally when they get to the top of the field, they're pretty good, but
Mhm.
even they can work on it. So there'll be a gap, a blind spot where they're not doing well. So it might be that they're technically, in fact, we've got a few people at the moment. They're technically very, very good. They've got to senior positions, but they're not being able to step up that enterprise role. Because for all sorts of different reasons. And typically it's because about being concise. It's not considering yourself a true peer at that level. So it's interesting to me. And I think the reason why the top people at companies, the C-suite, get an expensive coach like me is because they haven't got the time to prepare for their big, conference or their big speech. They just don't have the time. So they kind of need someone to just go, okay, I'm going to stop you and we're going to work it out. But there's always a moment that they can get better. And I encourage people at every single stage in their career to work on it, work on their communication skills, because there's so many things. I mean, you mentioned hard conversations, but there's negotiation, there's pitching, there's presenting, there's giving feedback, there's how do you self-regulate so you show up well as a manager. There's so many things.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think managers and giving feedback in these conversations are so hard. And like those are the things that like I think most managers are never kind of taught. You just do well at your job and then you're moved into a manager spot. And now you're kind of giving feedback to the next thing. And I think that connects to a company's culture. And I just think that like this link between good communication culture is so big. And you have all these people asking on like a job interview, like, what's the culture like? And I always tell them like, that doesn't mean anything. Ask, how do managers communicate? Like, how is news brought down? How is feedback delivered? And I assume that's a lot of this work that you're doing.
Absolutely. I think language is so powerful. I mean, it influences how we actually feel about ourselves. I mean, you'll hear people speak very negatively about themselves. I mean, maybe it's a very English thing, but that influences kind of how they feel. But take that out into culture. It's like one word, sort of, it echoes off from a senior executive, can sort of echo around the chambers and have such an impact. So one of the things I always talk about is you as a leader, but it's true of any stage in your career, really. You need to know how you are coming across and how that's impacting the culture and how that's impacting the team. And, I remember being in a meeting and one of our senior people said one thing. It was actually just a sentence, but it changed the atmosphere in the meeting so profoundly that it took me, I'm not kidding, a few months to just rectify that one sentence. So it's powerful. I mean, that can be quite overwhelming and scary when you think, oh, I'm going to say the wrong thing. But I think when as leaders, if you do sense that certainly it's someone else has said something like that, you can act on it and you can do something about it. You can say that's not how we work here. It's not our culture. But as a leader yourself, you better know how you come across, because
For sure. And I can think to a CEO I've like worked closely with and who where he was a great leader and great leader, but their anxiousness when things weren't going well, right? Their anxiety that came through. And that just like it's like you said, it resonates through the company. You can feel it. You can feel it in every message. You can feel it in every meeting. And I do think that like a lot of times executives sort of just think like you said, they're not thinking about how they're coming across exactly. And it's not only the message, but sort of how it's being delivered. And these are things that people aren't being taught. And I think that's just why, as I was digging into PitchNinjas, I was like, this is great. Like, this is what like people need to be doing.
I think so. I mean, it's the number one request for learning and development teams is communication. So when you put in sort of AI and all of those things, I think that we as an organization were just a little bit ahead of the curve on that, because AI is going to make so many parts of is going to handle so many of the routine tasks. So what are human beings at work? What are we going to need, right? The work's going to shift towards complex coordination, navigating ambiguity, creativity, collaboration. I mean, I know these things are quite well documented, but all of those things require sophisticated communication. And that is happening at a moment when we've got young people coming through who are losing communication skills. I mean, Mike, I don't know what stage your life at, but you look at young people. I'm surrounded by young people, and they're all sitting on their phones, just not talking to each other. I mean, it's simple to see that we're losing those skills at a moment when we need them. So I think that PitchNinjas just kind of fills a gap for lots of people.
Yeah. I'm very guilty of it. I can complain about young people, but I'm very guilty of it. Like I even said, like you're gonna catch me at HR Tech next week, just like face buried in phone, like at the table, like hoping nobody talks to me.
I know, but not after Aline. Is it Aline? Aline. Not
Aline,
after she's given you her pep talk. That
last
was interesting to me. Go on.
Last week I made her promise that we were going to introduce ourselves and everyone, because we've met online a dozen times, been at the same conferences a dozen times, but never actually just like gone up and had a conversation. And it's just funny how like that almost becomes default for people.
Yeah, and it's easy. Also, it's kind of nerve-wracking when what's weird, you've met people online and then you have to meet them in person. That's a strange thing. It can be quite a bit overwhelming. But in that conversation, they picked up a few things. They talked about the vendors, right, communication, and the attendees at communication. And actually they talked about questions, right? They said, tell me how your products help me solve my problem. So actually you need some really good questions, and those are just open-ended questions. So great communication isn't just about the send communication. It's also about the kind of questions you ask. It's also about the good old-fashioned listening. And I like it because I think Joel talked about, it's about making great connections. And those things are going to be more and more important. And if you are on the shyer side, getting over that and having some tools and techniques to overcome that is really important. And then there's that moment when the spotlight's on you and the question's asked to you. It's like, so tell me about what you do. And you've got to be ready. We talk about having a story bank. Have your story bank ready so that when the opportunity comes, and especially if you're someone who needs to prepare, like I am, you won't be flustered in the moment. You'll be like, oh, well, let me tell you about PitchNinjas, or let me tell you about my great best-selling book.
In my best-selling book, I have something called the Core 4 Stories that I talk very much about how important they are to have ready. So
story bank.
Speaking my language right here.
Love it.
It is going to be time for us to wrap. But before I do, right, you have some free offers, right? You have.
I do. I absolutely do. I have two little things to say. If anyone's listening in and is based in New York, we are holding a Make Every Conversation Count breakfast. It is our inaugural US breakfast, and we have got L&D senior people from Estee Lauder, from PwC, from WPP, from Schroders attending. And the idea is that we're going to promote a really good conversation. It's just a networking event for L&D. I know this is an HR space, but please come or get in touch with me. We'd love to see you if you happen to be in New York on the 7th of October. But the real giveaway is that we have one free coaching package. So it's our main best-selling coaching package. It's called the Power of 3 Communication Bootcamp. And for that, you'll get 3 coaching sessions, come through our platform. You'll record a video of yourself speaking, and then that will be used to get to know your coach. You'll look at delivery, how you're coming across. We help people how to create content that's fit for purpose. So you're bang on and compelling and concise and all those things. Help you create a story bank, help you flex to different personality styles in session 3. And it's really comprehensive. We've got a little funky AI tool that you can practice with. You get an action plan. So that is our just gift. Anyone who's listening, and I don't know how we give it away, maybe first come, first serve, but that is kind of just under $1,000 worth of coaching. So I'd be thrilled to share that with somebody who wants it.
Amazing. That is huge. We are going to give that to somebody. Thank you for that. And anyone in New York. I know Danielle is in New York, but anyone else, check out that breakfast in October. And then check out PitchNinjas and Joanna. Joanna, this has been great. I appreciate the energy you brought. I appreciate you coming in the afternoon, even though we're here for the morning show. And it was great talking with you.
So nice to meet you, Mike. I hope we run into each other somewhere.
Absolutely.
And I will say hello.
Yes, I will. I'll look up from my phone when you come say hi to me.
Okie doke. Bye.
All right, we have some special guests. So you've all heard me talk about quality of hire for years. I even have a podcast called The Quality Conversation. but it's always been kind of a fuzzy concept for a lot of us in talent acquisition. So I think we might have a solution. I think we've got some hard data. So our friends at Crosschq, by the way, as a Canadian, I think I've told you this, Mike. I love the name Crosschq. Like it's the best hockey reference ever. But Crosschq just dropped the brilliant 500, which is the first ever ranking of Fortune 500 companies based on the value they create for new hires. So I have the CEO, Mike Fitzsimmons, and I also have Dr. Stephen Hunt, who is the scientist in residence at Crosschq. So thanks for joining me. But first, let's quick introduction about what Crosschq does, Mike, if you don't mind, then we'll dig into the brilliant 500.
Yeah, for sure. So Crosschq is a hiring intelligence platform. Our sole mission in the world is to help companies both measure and improve quality of hire. That's what we do.
Love it. Love it. Dr. Steve, behind you, is that your dog or you just have random pictures of him?
No, I'm staying at an Airbnb. My son's getting married this week, and
Okay.
the funny that this dog looks just like my niece's dog. So, yeah,
Love it. Perfect. Well, I appreciate both of you joining me. So, Mike, let's start off. What is the Brilliant 500? What is the concept behind it? Like, basically what made you think of this, and what was the rollout? How did it pan out? Give me a little bit of insights.
Yeah, for sure. So I'll tell you first of all, in terms of the journey to get here, right? I was looking back, and at one point I did a calculation on the number of meetings I have had with talent acquisition practitioners to talk about quality of hire. And of those meetings, I think I totaled 168 over the last 3 years, right? Of direct meetings. And the number of those that actually moved towards action was a subset of that. And so this has come from a place of we built all kinds of great technology and science and to enable companies to finally tackle this issue. But getting the world's attention was hard, right? And there was too much bickering about who owns the metric, how to calculate the metric, right? And as such, I feel like the industry has just been stuck in mud, right? So there wasn't a lack of intellectual curiosity. I mean, look, LinkedIn came out this year and said quality of hire is the number one priority in hiring. It's now more important than recruiting efficiency, more important than D&I. Everybody is saying all the right things, but the industry has not been taking action, right? Full stop. So that was the inspiration. I said, "Hey, is there a way that we can go and lead even more on this topic? And can we do so by establishing a benchmark?" We went down the process of tackling this with Dr. Hunt, with our data science team, and found out that we could, and found out that we could use independently reported workforce data, go through an entire disambiguation process, use the power of AI and kind of data science to actually, create a scientifically validated measurement for quality of hire. So that we have done. We now have the ability to measure quality of hire for any company in the world. What we did in terms of the Fortune 500 and the Brilliant 500, we say, hey, what better way to start this and get public awareness than to launch this against the Fortune 500? So ultimately, what we have done is we have published the report of the Fortune 500 ranked by quality of hire. We have cut it into 27 key industries, which those are the core industries represented in the Fortune 500. And we are representing the top 3 in each industry in our report. So the gold, silver, bronze medalists, you can see that all on crosschq.com or on brillianthire.com, right? You can access the actual report, but that's where we are. So we now have a defensible ranking system. We have a defensible benchmark system, and we have the ability to do this against any company in the world in real time, and no longer have to have these conversations and debate who owns it, how you calculate it, right? And all the rest of it. So that's where we are.
So I'm curious, Dr. Hunt, give me a little bit of background on what the science behind this. How did you calculate it? What's the methodology of you coming up with the numbers that you came up with? I was reading it, and one of the things that came out a lot was the NHVI score. So tell me a little bit more what that actually means.
Yeah, new higher value index, or what we took. So a little background, and please call me Steve. I always joke you can call me doctor twice, and then it starts sounding pretentious.
Okay.
But so a little background. I mean, first of all, I'm a industrial organizational psychologist. That's what my PhD is in, and I have worked my career looking at using technology to improve quality of work environments, the decisions people make. And when Mike and I first met, and he told me what quality of hire was doing, and I was like, what you're doing with Crosschq is trying to solve something in psychology called the criteria problem. It's one of the biggest problems. I call it psychological science, which is measuring what it is we're actually trying to influence or change. And so if you look at we're about to go to HR tech, and I've done this before. Almost all of the recruiting technology solutions out there, all the machine learning solutions, they're not trained on what we actually hire people for, which is what they do after they're hired. We don't, hire people because you're a great interviewer, or, a matter of fact, that's what we get worried about. But almost all the technology and all this fancy machine learning is trained on stuff before people actually start work. And so what we wanted to look at is how could we call attention to the importance of focusing on what matters, which is what do people do after they're hired. And so what we did with the Brilliant 500 is we took advantage of LinkedIn data. And when Mike first proposed it to me, I thought, well, we can try it, but there's all kinds of reasons why this shouldn't work. But we went in, we got data on over 4 million employees hired at Fortune 500 companies from 2020 to 2025. We looked at data, and it was a huge effort to clean this data up and normalize it, but to look at three things. First of all, we call enrollment. Did they stay till 12 months? If you're hiring people and they're leaving under 12 months, something's wrong about how you're hiring. Don't blame the people, blame your process. Second, we call commitment. Did they stay till 3 years, which is where you really start to get value of people, particularly in professional jobs like you have in LinkedIn. And the third one was achievement, which is like, did they get promoted? Did they get recognized by peers? We looked at this, and what was amazing is it correlates with revenue growth in companies. I mean, significantly, in millions and millions, which is not surprising, but that we were able to get reliable data, show that not only is this reliable, it significantly impacts revenue growth of companies in Fortune 500, and it correlates heavily with things like Glassdoor ratings of engagement. So we use this to highlight companies that are really, really good at it. And Lauren, you're arriving at just the perfect time, and reached out and said, we don't know exactly what you're doing, but whatever you're doing, it's working, not based on pre-hire, but you are getting the outcomes that everyone's seeking. And it's materialistically impacting your revenue as an organization to the tune of, millions and millions of dollars. So Lauren, I'll turn it over to you to talk about your experience, but it really is about calling attention to this source of variability that we can influence, and it matters. I think a lot of recruiters feel like what I do don't matter. It absolutely matters.
I love it. Lauren, welcome. So Lauren Wilson is the head of talent acquisition at EchoStar and is a winner of gold in the media category. Lauren, thanks for joining us a little bit late. We had some technical difficulties, but you're live.
Yes, so I'm sorry, but thanks for having me.
So would love to know a little bit more.
Yeah, we've been partnering with Crosschq for a number of years now on quality of hire, and we have used this on multiple fronts. We started with our professional hiring and have been able to use this across all professional. And recently we're able to add our frontline, our field hiring to the mix as well. And so we found this as a really valuable tool for us to really zone in on what are the types of candidates that are successful. Just like Steve mentioned, how are they performing across time? How does that lead to longevity? And so we have a different model, right? If we think about our frontline, we're really focused on how can we find the right person and how can they last. We're really focused on attrition. Whereas on a professional, we have 6 factors looking at performance, engagement, culture, potential, et cetera. And so one of the ways that we've really built this into success is working with our hiring managers and setting the expectation that they're going to be getting a survey. We want them to rate their hires and then using that data to help us figure out what hires are the most successful. Are we finding them on LinkedIn? Are we finding them via referrals? Is it the recruiter, right? Is it the group? Is it the department? And all of this has really helped us. And then we really dig in if we get a low score to figure out what went wrong. And so you have the big layer, right, with all of the data that we're using to inform where we put our dollars in TA, where we spend our time. And then we have the drill down when something goes wrong to really figure out and learn from the mistake. And so we've loved the model, and we were super excited to see that our quality has improved over time because of it.
So I'm curious, Lauren, what do you think recruiters that are actually on the ground, so you manage a team of recruiters, what do they need to take away from the report? Because obviously this is very much geared towards the execs in a lot of ways, seeing what quality of hire, but the ones actually going through the process, interviewing the candidates, what's the key points they should take away from this?
Yeah, I think we have this as one of our key results for our recruiters as we actually look at their quality of hire by recruiter.
Okay.
And so we can tell, not that the recruiters always responsible for a bad candidate, but it's really a learned lesson for them to really zone in and focus on who they think is going to be a fit for the organization, right? We're not focused on making the hire, we're focused on making a fit for the organization for the long term. And so we will, that's one of the benefits of tracking it down to the recruiter level is we can actually see that performance and talk directly to the recruiters about how it impacts their world as well.
Love it. So Mike, one of the things that you said that this is a wake-up calls for CEOs. So if I'm a CEO or CHRO, what's the first thing I should be doing after reading this report?
Yeah, well, I think Steve mentioned it, and some of the variance data was overwhelming. Like he did a deep analysis on accretive revenue for the top 100 versus the bottom 100 of the Fortune 500. And he identified there was over 800 billion of revenue accretion that could be attributed to better hiring. It's just mind-boggling, right? And then conversely, when you look at the expense side of it, we were easily available to identify over $10 billion of incremental expense based upon those organizations that were less effective in their hiring, right? So, Serge, I think in its simplest of forms, there's no CEO in the world that doesn't want to drive more revenue and reduce more expense. And having a way to connect those two things, right, to the investments you make in human capital, I think is like the headline message, right? I will tell you there's some other nuance that I think is fascinating. I mean, when we were going through the report, it wasn't, we ran all kinds of connectivity between quality of hire and stock performance, and there was too much variability in stock performance. Too many other things influence the performance of your stock price, right? But well, as I mentioned, we did find the high correlation between revenue growth itself. But as Steve pointed out, you found these companies like take a Nike, who has not been performing well from a stock perspective during the term of this study. Their stock is actually 50% what it was, but man, they've saved their tails by hiring really well. Like, and he brought up the point that if they weren't doing that, this thing would be a dumpster fire, right? It would be even worse. So some of the results are obvious, the NVIDIAs of the world and some of these great companies that are performing super well. But some of them you may not, like EchoStar in the media category, beating out Comcast, beating out these other big providers that you're probably more familiar with, is because they're doing a better job, right? So I think that's the thing is like, let's take it seriously. Let's connect the dots between revenue and expense like we do with every other thing that we invest in. I'll tell you one other thing that I think is pretty fascinating as well is when you look at how you're doing against your competitors. Why we did this all at an industry level, like we haven't been here to tout who didn't win, but there are some sort of obvious folks that aren't on the list that you think about. Apple, who you think about as one of the best run companies, Tesla, like some of these companies that catch our attention, but this is just part of their business. They're not as mature in as you might think they might be. So anyway, I think and really our goal is, right, Serge, is to provoke the conversation, back it up with data, and move this out of a debate between who owns it, right, and get to where EchoStar is, where the recruiters take this as a KPI and everybody's accountable, and it works its way, downstream from there.
Well, I think it's a KPI that should be almost given to the board. It should be something that is really looked at because it's across the organization. There's always been the argument of should it be in recruitment, should it be in HR, should it be the CEO? And I think it's a mixture of all of it. But as I was digging in the report, I was really fascinated by the type of industry. So if we look at tech and pharma, they really did well. But then you look at retail and hospitality, they struggled. And as being a talent acquisition person, kind of made sense just based on the challenges that those industries really have compared to tech and pharma, where you take a lot more time in hiring someone. But like, what really separated, like Steve, I'm curious on your end, like what are the key components that separate the different industries that you saw?
Well, I think a couple of things. One, it's really important to control for industries. And if you go to our website, we don't show the raw scores because going back to your example, if you're a retail company, you inherently have higher turnover because of the nature of the retail workforce. And so like the best in class companies there are still going to have higher average turnover than a tech company. But relative to their peers, that's where we see significant differences, right? And so And the way that I would go back to this, you used to really comment about board level metric, because what we found, you look at quality of hire, it's a source of variability in an organization, the quality of people you're hiring. And where companies are now, it's going back to the sports thing. It's like, imagine you wanted somebody to be better at free throws, but all you did is look at the player, and you never once looked at whether the ball was going in the basket. Oh, move your arm, move this. That's where so much of where we are in recruiting is. We don't actually measure this, what happens after they're hired data. And that's what this quality of hire index is. It's all on post-hire criteria. And I think as far as becoming a board level metric, this is like when I'm going to age myself. When I started my career way back when, companies did not systematically measure employee engagement. And that has become a board level metric because people realize it has all kinds of impacts on profitability. If you go back 40 years, companies didn't even measure customer satisfaction. And it's like, and I think people forget that quality of hire is this pivotal metric that historically we didn't measure well, but now we really can measure. So I think the big emphasis is, if companies want to improve this, they have to, as Lauren was sharing, get really serious about focus on the criteria, the quality of hire, and then work backwards to, is this a recruiting problem, an onboarding problem, a talent management problem? But if you don't start with that criteria, you're just arguing over different things. And basically, you're just whatever, I'm going to be really cynical about my field, whatever vendor's got the best sales pitches can convince you to invest them, as opposed to, is this solving the problem I actually have? So, Lauren, so that's sort of my thought. But I sorry, not telling your industry, but I just wanted to show that. I think your point, this should be a board level metric.
I agree completely. I'm curious, Lauren.
Well, I think it's a great recruiter metric, but also one of the questions that I got asked early on is, how do we know each hire is making the organization better, right? And I think you can use quality of hire to really help show that you're furthering the organization, furthering the business goals by the people that you're hiring.
I got to say something too, Lauren. I know this was when we first started working with the EchoStar team, and this was pure coincidence that we won. We're very proud of that. But I got the call, and their chairman, who's incredibly well known, right, and he's an incredibly successful individual. He was at that time reviewing every single offer before it went out. And what he said to the team, I think, Lauren, this might have been before your time. He said, "The only way that I'm going to stop doing this is if you can convince me that the quality of hire goes up after I have been removed from the process." So it was actually a really cool jumping off point where you had the C-suite already invested in this concept. And then, he had a personal reason by which but it was a great, I think I bring that up just because, man, if you get that buy-off at that level, then this thing just starts to work top down. It's a completely different culture, right, than if you're having this conversation bottom up, right, and again, haggling over how to do it, right, who owns it, and those types of things.
So I'm going to tell you guys, if you have solved the quality of hire for HR and talent acquisition, you are all going to be billionaires. So I hope that you did, and I hope it works. I was very impressed by it. So for anyone watching, listening here, where do they get the report, and where do they find out more about Crosschq?
Yeah, so the simplest thing to do is go to crosschq.com. That's CROSSCHQ.com. And you can see the link to the report there. You can also follow us on LinkedIn and do the whole thing. But that's the easiest spot, is go to the website, crosschq.com. And for those of you that are practitioners that are curious about your own data, we have a whole solution in place now where you can access your own scores. You can see where you rank up against your competition, right? There's all kinds of cool stuff behind the scenes, but check it out.
Well, I really appreciate it. I think this is fascinating. We've had to have you all on the show to discuss this. Lauren, I really appreciate your insight as a winner of the gold. And if anyone wants to get a hold of you, find out more, Lauren, what's the easiest way to get a hold of you?
Yeah, I have a pretty common name, but you should be able to find me on LinkedIn, or it's lauren.wilson@dish.com.
Perfect. And Steve, thank you for joining us. Thank you for this research. This is critical work in our space. If you have figured it out, again, I'll say you're going to be a very rich man. So thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, Serge.
Thank you. Yeah.
See you guys.
Thanks.
Hello, welcome to the show.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing great. I get to talk to you today, Steve. So,
Thanks so much.
what could be better? I am so excited to chat. I think the topic of your book is incredibly important, and I think it's something that many people, unfortunately, are experiencing, have experienced. I certainly have. So I think it's. I'm just so excited to chat about it.
Thank you.
And if for those who don't know who you are and what you do, can you just give us a brief kind of rundown?
Sure. Hi, I'm Steve Jaffe. I'm the author of The Layoff Journey from Dismissal to Discovery. This is a book that helps people navigate the stages of grief after job loss. Unfortunately, layoffs have been all too common. They're probably becoming even more common than ever. And people are really affected by the grief that comes from this. And myself, I've been laid off 4 times over the course of my 25-year career. And these are lessons that I learned. This is a book that I wish I had when I was laid off. Certainly would have helped me navigate those stages of grief. The story that I tell is my first layoff that I had was the spring of 2001. It was really difficult. It took me a really long time to kind of come to terms with it and come out the other side. My last layoff, summer of 2023, I sailed right through it. It was water off a duck's back. And what I realized was I had learned a set of skills that helped me manage and helped me cope. And what I wanted to do was translate and transfer those skills so other people could get through their layoff in a very short period of time rather than suffer what I did on my first layoff.
Yeah. I mean, it is incredibly common, unfortunately, right now, and I think it will continue to grow in numbers. But I think there tends to be a lot of shame
Yeah.
around being laid off, and for you to just come out and say, "Hey, I've been laid off however many times," that takes a lot of courage. And something I've been thinking about recently has been because I don't know, something is up with the universe, like the moon, there's like eclipses going on, like something is wacky. And a lot of people in my life have been going through a lot of things, myself included. And I think there's this switch, right? You could go from a victim mentality, and of course you could like feel really sorry for yourself. And there's also the flip side of like, okay, what am I going to do about it? Can you walk us through, like, is that something natural that everyone goes through? Is that a decision? Is that a choice? Is that part of grief? Like, what is that kind of spectrum that we tend to go through?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm so glad you mentioned shame and embarrassment because I think that is one of the most important things to overcome with a layoff. Unfortunately, people feel as if a layoff can be a statement about their self-worth. It can be a statement about maybe their like job performance, who they are as a person, their
Yeah.
identity. All of these things get wrapped up in what we do. And the reality is, more often than not, layoffs aren't any fault of your own. It's a budget exercise done by the company to save the company money, drive revenue to the bottom line, because it's more difficult to cut headcount than it is to increase sales. So it's by its very nature kind of a no fault termination. But we attach a lot of baggage to it, right? And that shame and embarrassment is kind of what holds us back from talking about it. Now, if you talk about it and you share it with friends, family, former coworkers, mentors, all of a sudden you have a layer of support that maybe you wouldn't have had otherwise. The reality is about 40% of all Americans have been laid off at least once in their career. So once you start talking about this, you realize that there's a lot of other people have gone through it, and maybe they're just afraid to talk about it as well. But one of the most important things is it allows you to develop this new community, and it's a community of
Mm,
support, right? So I really stress, and one of the things I hope I'm able to do is kind of knock down some of that shame and embarrassment. But when you mentioned kind of coming out the other side of this and finding maybe that silver lining, if you will.
mhm.
layoffs suck, and I would never wish them on anybody, but they do allow for a pause to say, look, am I on the right career path? Is my career match my passions and my desires? Am I finding it fulfilling? Is the industry that I'm in experiencing contraction? And do I maybe need to use this as an opportunity to pivot? Now, you may go through that exercise and say, no, you know what? I love what I do and I want to keep doing it and I want to stay in the field that I am. The great thing about that is when you go on a job interview and you communicate your passion and your interest to that hiring manager, that's going to come across in a really positive way,
For
right?
sure.
So, I absolutely believe that it's a mindset shift to say, listen, this is a pause in my career. This isn't a roadblock. It's merely a detour, and the layoff is something that happened to me. But what I can do from here, what I choose to do next, is entirely up to me.
Yeah.
So, the stages of grief that I write about, the last couple of stages, uh, acceptance, reconstruction, and renewal, are all about that looking ahead and finding what is this experience teaching me, and what can I bring from it in a way that um, I don't carry this for a long period of time, and it holds
Yeah.
me back. And the great thing about it too is once you work through these stages of grief, you're then positioned really well to go on those job interviews and to be really positive. So that again, that hiring manager, if they ask you, well, tell me what happened in your last job, you don't stutter and stammer and it's this
You have a story to tell.
right, it's like this white elephant in the room. You're able to say, listen, here's what I learned, here's what I chose to do, here's how I feel about um, this career path that I'm on. So
Yeah.
it's really important to take a pause after a layoff. Don't jump right back into like resumes and interviews. Take a pause and process these stages of grief.
Yeah.
It'll only help you.
Yeah, I remember when I got laid off, I mean, there's so many things I wish I had known before. And when it actually happened, I was like, oh, I was definitely in that mindset of let me take a moment. Like I graduated into the pandemic, so it was
Oh,
a really tough transition. I went straight into a toxic working environment, then went into a really great one, and then we got acquired, and that was like crazy. And then I went right into working for an international company, across from Paris to New York. I mean, it was a lot. And I think oftentimes we don't give ourselves enough credit and we don't give ourselves enough grace for just the changes that go on and maybe the burnout that we've experienced. What are some of the things that you're maybe like, let's just do one thing because we're running out of time. But like, what is one thing that you wish more people, maybe before they get laid off, like the average person, let's say, who's working for a corporate company, what do you wish more people maybe did to prepare themselves for a potential layoff, or a mindset that they had, something that might help kind of everyone
yeah.
moving forward?
Yeah, yeah. I'm a big believer in a learning mindset, a growth mindset. But one of the things that I think that can help you the most is to build and manage and maintain your network before you need it, right? When you're laid off, you're going to really rely on that network. That's
Yeah.
not the time to start building it. You need to build your network and know who you can turn to for what before that happens. It's like in the plane, you put your oxygen mask on first before you help somebody else. When you're in the emergency, it's not the time to start building a network. That network is going to be what's going to help you grieve. It's going to also probably be what's going to help you find your next job. So it's really important to manage and maintain and build strong relationships. And also, I'd have to say, build a strong safety net financially. The job hunt and the job search is taking much longer than it ever has. People used to say build a 6-month cushion. You probably need to build a 9 to 12-month cushion now.
Wow.
It can go on a long time. So if you have financial resources and you have the community of resources around you, that's going to give you the time and the space to build, to rebuild, I should say, and to get through the stages of grief in a way that you can be successful when you do land your next job.
Mm-hmm. I love that. That is super helpful. Yeah, and one thing that I've learned actually from an employment lawyer a couple of years ago, she said, I usually have to fire people. And the one thing that I notice the difference between the people who take it really well and the people who don't is that the people who take it really well are usually have something outside of work that they're passionate about and something that maybe they're working on. Maybe it's a side hustle. Maybe it's just a passion project. But definitely that is the one piece of advice that I would give people. Where can folks find you, find your book, and learn more?
Yeah. All right. So Joanna had all these amazing giveaways. I want to match that. If you go to thestevejaffe.com, that's my website. You can learn more about the book. You can learn more about me. You can also get a free chapter. So if this sounds interesting, you can download a free chapter, take it for a test drive before you buy it. If you like what you read there, go to Amazon, check it out. There is a free Kindle Unlimited promotion running right now. So if you have Kindle Unlimited, you can get a free copy. And otherwise, you can check the book out there. I'm on LinkedIn. You can check me out on Instagram. You can read my blog on Substack. So I'm kind of in all the places. But what I would want to do is just let anybody know if they're going through a layoff, if you're going through a difficult time, please feel free to reach out. I'm doing this to help people, and I want to help as many people as I can. So reach out. I'm happy to do whatever I can to get you through this and get you back in the game.
Thank you so much, Steve. It's great to have you, and go check out his book, The Layoff Journey.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.
All right.
All right. That was.
We do a dance party now?
Yeah, we're dance partying. All right. This is our HR Tech is Next Week dance party. I am the only one of this trio going, but you can find
I'm
us.
not allowed to go.
Yeah. There can only be one between the realist and the realistic recruiter. So I will be there. We'll be at the Virtual HR booth with Purple Acorn the 16th through the 18th. You've heard from a lot of people talking about it, so definitely come check us out there. And this has been fun. I've been here for 3 straight weeks, but I'm not going to be back here next week. So I hope you all don't miss me too much.
What?
You will.
I was promised that you would be your new host.
I was given the option of replacing you permanently, and I said no, I can't do that to him. That of course did not happen.
Shots fired.
Dang.
All right.
But let me say one more time to follow us, right? To follow this show on LinkedIn and get us to 2,000. Let it be because of my 3 weeks hosting that it happened. So go follow the page and let it be known it's because of me.
And big shout out to Kika, again, our new sponsor. And if you want to see more Purple Acorn, head over to purpleacornnetwork.com and find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to your podcasts. We are always looking for reviews. So if you feel like giving us a 5-star, please do that. If you feel like giving us a 1-star, don't do that. 5 stars only. And thank you so much for tuning in. And I guess we'll see you back here next week, except not Mike. He will be in Vegas.
Bye, Mike. Have fun at HR Tech. Bye.
Bye.